good evening guys, Rich here, and this is the first of my Traxxas Rustler 4x4 upgrades that I'm fitting the steel constant velocity drive shafts. Why are you fitting those, Richie, before it's virtually even turned a wheel? All I've done with the car so far is speed runs and a couple of black pips. I haven't even had time to take it out for a full-on bashing session, but I have a feeling I'm going to need these parts. If after seeing this video you also decide you need these, there is a link to them as ever below the video. Anyway, I'm going to get the camera off the tripod and show you just what the problem is, because I'm not planned on doing a Traxxas Rustler 4x4 mod this early on, except take a look at this side of the car, take a look at this side of the car. These plastic drive shafts that some people said might be an issue, before the thing has virtually turned a wheel, the insert from the inside of this front drive shaft on here has come away completely. I cannot find it anywhere. I've checked all the spots that I've been to. I was just playing around with it in the driveway before taking it out for a full-on bashing session, put it back in the bench and noticed that flopped forwards, so not too impressed with it. Anyway, more to the point, I am quite impressed with these. These are the Traxxas constant velocity drive shafts, CVD drive shafts for the car. They are captive, so well, one goes through into the wheel and is held on obviously by the nut holding the thing on there. The one on the inside has a pin going through it, so that can't come off either. So even should, goodness sake, they pull apart, you're not going to lose either end like you have done with the plastic one on here. They are not awfully cheap though, boys and girls, so do take a look at them in the link below the video, but you might want to buy them like 2 at a time. But I took the view that if one had dropped out, and that only dropped out, and I took the view that if one had dropped out, not even bashing the thing hard, just a little bit of light testing around the yard, goodness knows where it even came off, took the view that if one had fallen out, then it would continue to be a problem. I found that on their Traxxas Vortec 2.0 as an example. Rear-wheel drive shafts constantly dropping out. Changed to CVD ones, solved the problem. Anyway, without more ado, let me get these out of the packet. Now when you buy these, do pay attention to the part numbers, because you need to buy a separate set for the front, which are a completely different part number to the ones for the rear. How much of a difference there is, I'm not quite sure, but I wouldn't want you to buy like 4 of the same and find that they don't fit and get mismatched on the car. So when it comes to Traxxas 4x4 upgrades, I'm not planning on doing the first one quite this soon, but here is the CVD constant velocity drive shaft. So that's linked in there, so when that pulls apart, the thing, oh, he said, it is obviously in 2 parts as you've just seen from there. However, the wheel nut is going to screw onto this end, so that's not going to go anywhere because that's going to attach on the inside of the wheel. At this end, you're going to put a little pin through. 2 of the pins are included in there, so I'd make sure you lock those in nice and tight. So if the car takes a really big hit or goes over the jump set, gets like pulled apart or anything, and the thing comes apart completely, both ends of the constant velocity drive shaft are going to be held in place. So even though it might be flopping around in the middle, this end's going to be securely held in place by the wheel on the outside of the car, and this end's going to be held in place by that pin, which to my mind makes them well worth the money, because if they fall apart, you can always take the thing apart and push them back together again. You lose the drive shaft or lose like the plastic one on that car, it's the end of your day, the thing is ruined. Now I would say guys, if you fancy doing this Traxxas Rustler 4x4 mod, I suggest you get some of these as soon as possible, because what I found when the Vortec 2.0 came out is it dropped rear drive shafts constantly. CVD drive shafts, I bought them very early on and they sold out just like in an instant. Everybody was asking me, where'd you buy them from, Rich, where'd you buy them from? People couldn't get hold of the rear drive shafts for the Vortec 2.0 and had to wait about 3 or 4 weeks before they could use the cars. So don't let the same happen to you with your Traxxas Rustler 4x4. Get some of these early boys before they become a problem. Well, anyway guys, I'm going to get the car up on the stand, get the wheels off and get fitting these CVD shafts. Okay, well I fit the front CVD shafts. The first thing to do, take the wheels off, then remove the hexes from both sides of the drivetrain. Next bit to do is to undo the grub screw on the inside of the drive shaft here, which will then enable that whole thing, once the hex is removed from there, to be able to remove that whole drive shaft. Okay, to get the hexes off, you just use a screwdriver, prise them off, taking great care not to lose the hex pin. Then your next job on both of the drive shafts is to undo this grub screw that's on the inside. Okay, with that one undone, just slide out so you can grab it with your fingers. Keep that pin nice and safe, although the new CVDs do come with them fitted. Now, that's going to pull straight off of there. That's
then going to enable me to take this off. That's then going to enable me to very carefully push the drive shaft through, which seems to want to take the bearing with it. And there's a little washer, a shim on the outside on that, so I'm going to put that to one side because I want to make sure that goes back on there. That's the first time my old plastic drive shaft's removed. Now I'm fitting that shaft back in. I did have the bearing pushed in there, but it just keeps constantly falling out. So I'm going to put it on the shaft, then feed the shaft through. Okay, now I've fed the shaft through from the inside as it involved a bit of child unfriendly language in order to keep the bearings back in there. It's also got a sleeve over here which you can then will then seal the bearing in nicely. So you've then got to line this end up so that that hole there lines up with the hole on the inside of the drive shaft. At this stage, I'm going to one of my new screws that fits through the two holes and locks the thing in the shaft, but I'm going to put a bit of thread lock on the outside of this, because otherwise that would kind of defeat the object of this whole lace. Quite tricky in this light to sit in there, but did manage to get it in. But it's not the easiest of jobs though. But that is that drive shaft now on there. With the inclusion of that washer back on, the hex and the wheel are now ready to go back on that. Okay, well, I fitted the other CVD shaft onto the car. Fairly easy to do, just simply replicate the first process. Undo that grub screw on the inside to remove the old one, and simply take the hex off the outside, push the drive shaft through, and then you can remove the whole thing to fit the new one. To fit the rear CVD shafts, the process is exactly the same as for the front ones. No, if you're going to do the same Traxxas 4x4 drive shaft upgrade, it's far easier working on the back of the car than it is the front. Pure as a matter of interest, if anybody's wondering why the heck the back of the car looks so sort of shiny and oily, it's that there was the whole thing in the new car in WD-40, which, although it makes the plastic looks kind of slightly nice and shiny, wipe the excess off, leave it to dry overnight, and when you get, I'm going to be taking this down the beach tomorrow, more on that in a second, and when it gets covered with all dirt, dust, sand, etc., it's far easier just to power wash it off, and the car comes, and all the crud and stuff comes straight off the car, doesn't stick to it if you put WD-40 over everything. Obviously you want to take a bit of care to avoid the bearing. Fairly straightforward mod fitting the Traxxas Rustler CVD Concept Velocity's drive shafts there. The rear far easier than the front. Front a little bit of a pig, a bit of child unfriendly language. The rear you've got easy access to the screws from behind, less so at the front for some reason on there. Anyway, I'm going to get the wheels back on, but a thought suddenly struck me. As I'm going out crawling with the guys from Highway 1 RC, do check out their channel, link to it below this video. Tomorrow in Santa Cruz, I thought, Santa Cruz, they've got beats there, why not fit the paddle tires to this boy Richie? So, if you don't want to miss that video, get subscribing. We hope you liked this video. If you did, please click on the circle image to subscribe. And if you hit subscribe, then don't forget to hit that little notifications bell next to it.